My sun sign is a Virgo, my moon sign is a Pisces, and my rising is a Gemini. When I'm ready to party, B money comes out.
Yes, that's right. We are here late on Wednesday, March 9th, 2022 to check in with the audience here for Big Brother Canada 10 here on Super Mader Brothers Podcasting as we are now in the second week of this season. I'm joined with, I'm Dave Mader, by the way. I'm joined with my brother Jeff Mader and co-host Jaemeel Robinson as we are just coming off our Survivor Season 42 premiere podcast. And now we are here to talk about Big Brother Canada 10. So bear with me if I stumble on any of my words or don't quite get my thoughts out cohersely. But we thought it'd be important to check in because we couldn't do a podcast on Monday night with the nominations that with Marty, Jeff. Your draft pick in this season of Big Brother Canada 10 became the HOH. He won the shuffling of the watermelon on the platform against his rival, Steph. You know, we saw he was making deals with Steph, even though he told it was kind of like the stupidest thing because he was like, I'm making deals with Steph, but I don't trust you. And it was like, well, don't make a deal if you're getting nothing out of this. Like, you're getting nothing out of this deal, Marty. I'm sorry to tell you. Anyway, so we were checking in, and then we were talking about his HOH as it's been progressing. The veto was tonight, and we see here that ultimately his two nominees, by the way, were Jay and Jacey-Lynne. Jacey-Lynne ends up taking herself off the block and is replaced with B Money herself, Betty.
Was it B Money or was it Business Betty?
Well,
it was Business Betty, and now B Money's going to come out to get that
Business
money.
B. Don't you be messing with Business B. Where's my Business B?
When I'm ready to party, B money comes out.
Oh, that's the B Money.
Business B is who I am in the office setting.
Right. Business B's in the office, or when she means business. Except she's partying with business. Okay, Jaemeel, I'd like to talk to you first about this and see how you're feeling about Big Brother Canada 10 so far. As we saw, we talked about the last eviction. We saw Melina go out, and Marty ends up becoming the second HOH here, and kind of does something unconventional, you know, by putting up Jay and Jacey-Lynne, who, you know, that's not necessarily who were maybe the obvious targets because Kevin and Jess have kind of become sort of like the outcasts of the house. Maybe I've at least found each other and are starting to work together, I guess, because they have really no one else to turn to, and they're trying to. And we saw maybe some results and some fruition to that, as we saw Jess was kind of convincing tonight that Marty to not put up Kevin, and ultimately that keeps Kevin off the block. So maybe that duo does deserve a bit more credit. But yeah, sorry. How are you feeling? Is this like a disastrous HOH? Is that what you're kind of focused on, or do you think that this has been sort of good?
A very sloppy HOH, mind you, but a lot of the heat isn't necessarily on Marty. Sloppy in the sense that he's kind of put his cards on the table, and a lot of people are aware of it and are gunning for him. But at the same time, the sloppiness, he has set himself up in terms of alliances. So that's good. At the same time, he's in a lot better position than he was a week ago. That being said, people who were solidly strong have now, you know, kind of dipped their toe into some quicksand. They're not into quicksand, just dip their toe. And that's Kyle.
Yeah, we didn't see a lot from him tonight, except this conversation he has with Marty. But we didn't see him a lot in the last episode. Kyle has not been uber present in this season, but he's apparently kind of a big player in this game. He's kind
very
of
big,
and he's not necessarily been being portrayed that much on the show, other than he's kind of like seen talking to whoever the HOH is and seeming to have a certain amount of say.
Hey, you're not playing for the television, you're playing to win the $1 million. So the $100,000
$100,000 plus.
The winners
winter
shopping spree and the Expedia, vacation as well.
Right, of course.
Yes.
It's a total package. Jeff, what do you think about Marty's HOH so far?
I think, like Jameel's correct. I think it is a little sloppy, but at the same time, I think he's drawn a line in the sand in the house, sort of figuratively, and I think he's picked the right side. Like, he's not gonna make it far hanging with the pretty people. Okay, so put them on the block. I think he needs to be with the Jesses and the Kevins, and I think that's where he needs to go, while also bringing a few people over with him, and creating a strong side of the house that is kind of like the misfits.
So hold on. Sorry,
that's how I see it.
Time out. Are you talking about Marty?
Marty, yeah.
Ooh, okay.
Why?
Well, no. Who is Marty working with, Jameel? Like, I can tell Gino is one of them, but Gino is maybe in a showman with Jacey-Lynne.
Right. He's working with Gino because of the French connection.
Right.
I also think he's with what's the other girl from Quebec?
Tanisha.
I think he's working with her too.
Not really.
But I don't know. I don't watch the feeds and I don't keep up. I just watch the show.
They speak French when they go to Wendy's together.
Well, same thing with was it Gino? He was talking French too.
Yeah, like the weirdest thing tonight too, just before I forget about it, was when was it Herman who comes to talk to Marty, and then you got Gino like in the bathroom who's opening the door to like join the conversation while he's on the can.
Never done that, Dave?
No, I don't do that, and I don't think I would do it, especially do it on TV. I've never seen this in Big Brother.
Level of comfort. When do you and Jane talk? Jane's in the bathroom.
No,
she just leaves the door open?
With the door, when the bathroom door is closed, there's no talking.
No.
Dave,
it's just bodily functions. It's okay.
They are meant to be behind closed doors and not spoken of.
Oh,
yes, me.
Oh, Dave.
Ladies don't poop.
Well, we know Gino does, as he was like, "Oh, I'm in my office. I can be part of this conference call." He just kept opening and closing it while he's got his pants around his ankles.
Yeah, I didn't find that. I didn't have a problem with that.
I have a problem with it. I'm going on the record. I'm saying I have a problem with it. I don't care who knows it. Anyway. But yeah, like the whole thing here with like Gino, okay, Jacey-Lynne is kind of this interesting one because Jacey-Lynne is the type of player who comes from a certain demographic, and you can, she's like, I was the cheerleader, I was like this kind of like the popular girl in school, obviously a good athlete, and Gino's like, well, who do you go for? What's your type? She's like, I always went for like the alpha bro dude. I'm like, okay, I exactly know who you are, Jacey-Lynne, right? But then normally like somebody like that finds other people like them, right? Like, who remind them. So Stephanie is kind of the closest to that. And we saw that they were kind of getting along. And then they usually find a couple of single bro-y guys who are going to win them a bunch of challenges. And I don't know who those two are. I think that, Jacey-Lynne wants Gino to be one of those, to be that person. But I don't know if he does necessarily. He might be down to being a showman, or he might be down for a romance, but I don't think he necessarily is. And then I guess Kyle or Moose or
okay. Do you want to talk on that last point?
Sure. What was my last point?
About Jacey-Lynne and Stephanie and Gino.
Are they not getting along anymore? What's happening?
So both Stephanie and Jacey-Lynne both like Gino.
Yeah, and they kind of set that up a bit. Yeah,
Stephanie tried so hard throwing herself at Gino, and it was very embarrassing. Like, what type of girl do you like? And Gino's like, and she's like, I don't know. What kind of girl do you like?
One's from North Bay or Thunder Bay.
It's like, I like to play it cool and calm. Well, and he's like, oh, okay, that's an interesting take. Well, I didn't used to do that. Like, I used to be a lot more, aggressive, but now I'm, trying to be cool and calm. And like Gino was not having anything that Stephanie was trying to lay down. And it was just like really difficult in terms of that interaction. Whereas Gino and Jacey-Lynne have been a lot tighter of a pair, and Gino's tried to slow it down a little bit, but they are showmans now.
Right. But like, okay,
Officially.
but Gino's not trying to protect Jacey-Lynne from the block either.
Well, he kind of, you know, with what has happened, she wasn't necessarily the target.
But if this is somebody you care about, you're kind of like, anybody you put on the block is expendable to you.
Well, he didn't put her on the block, but he also
ally
wasn't gonna ruin his game trying to make a stand on Marty in week 2.
Right, and I respect that, but it was interesting to kind of see this dynamic. And Jay was the other one who got nominated here and remains on the block and is apparently the target. And the house was kind of along with that, and maybe a few of the others, like Josh, is not necessarily down with that, and Betty, and that ends up putting Betty on the block here because she kind of likes Jay too.
You don't put Betty on the block.
No, business block. Or is it block money? You know, she was not too. I don't really know Betty very well yet in this game, but it seemed like there was potential. I liked the way that Jess spun this tonight to protect Kevin, to kind of push the game in the way that was good for her and for her ally, and you know, and kind of kept Marty sort of going in this other direction versus putting up Kevin, which we saw was kind of his default thing, because everyone's like, well, put up Kevin and or because I made no promises to him. I have no ally, you know, like I don't have any currency to burn there. But then they're like, well, then why would somebody vote to keep him either? Like, right? Like it'd be easier to vote him out.
I would just want to reiterate, I'm really digging what Jess is putting down. Like,
yeah,
she, like, personality wise, is someone I think I would definitely like really interact well with, just because of like that attitude. Like, she's persistent, she has her opinions, and she sticks with it, right? It isn't going to be a one-sided conversation where you feel like this person is just and han and yan and just nodding their head in terms of a lot of these conversations that I feel like is going on in this household. She has her own opinions. You might not necessarily agree with it. So if you're looking for a partner, and Kevin sees what she's laying down, he's like, straight up, you're annoying, but your persistence is just like
has won me over.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, absolutely. And I think she did a lot of work on Kevin's behalf, and Kevin should thank his lucky stars that Jessica's in this game, because if he hit that block against Jay, he was good as gone, in my opinion. Good as gone.
And on Kevin, like, are we impressed with Kevin yet, or do we feel like, you know, there's nothing to really cheer for here, is there?
He's going to luck into a good move, and then he's going, you know, and then that'll be his, you know, claim to fame. And
he'll sell it as I'm the greatest ever. Whatever.
Yeah, that's what I think. I just don't think he's very savvy. But Jess is very, very savvy and a good player.
I don't know if I don't know if he obviously believes in himself more than I think he maybe deserves to. He's got he believes his own hype quite a bit. But you know, like, we'll see. Like, I did love the moment where he's like, you know, we're the two aliens, a bunch of humans here, and he's like, for the record, I can't stand you, but you've kind of won me over with your nagging, and I gotta go with it. And so, and he's like, we don't even need to talk to each other. I don't even like you, but we are working together. I'm like, good attitude. We'll see if it can last. Okay. So we're it's always a little bit harder when we're talking about 2 episodes in a row here.
So how about, do you want me to kind of break down some of the alliances?
Sure. I would love to know about the alliances.
Okay. So the biggest alliance obviously is the Savage 7.
The Savage 7. We didn't hear about them tonight, but that was talked about last week.
Hand motion. So you have a 7 in your hand here.
They got the ice
7. Ice in their vein.
Ice in the veins. They did it in their vote. So is Herman the leader of the Savage 7?
They're all a part of it. Like, Kyle is extremely well connected. So Savage 7 consists of Moose, Kyle, Herman, Gino, Jacey-Lynne. Sorry, Gino, Josh, Summer, and Tanisha. I think I hit all those people. So
That's 8 people,
Huh?
isn't it? Is that? Oh no, that's 7. That's 7. Okay.
7, right? So you have that group. Then you have like a kind of bro alliance, which is Marty, Moose, Kyle, and Gino. Then you have the All Girls Alliance. It wouldn't be a season without All Girls Alliance,
Of course.
which is Tanisha, Helena, Betty, and Summer.
Lena, Betty, and Summer. Okay.
Right, and then and then you have the kind of single alliance, which is Stephanie,
Single and ready to mingle.
yeah, Stephanie, Jacey-Lynne, Gino, Herman, and Kyle. Right,
Stephanie. Okay, this was like the assumed like pretty person alliance that I was expecting. So Stephanie, Jacey-Lynne, Gino, and who's the fourth?
Kyle and Herman.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, so 5 of
That
them.
makes sense. That's
Right.
the pretty person alliance.
That's the
Yep.
pretty person alliance. That's who you expect to work together. So they are a thing.
Yeah.
Without a name officially.
And then you have Honey Bunch, which is the first 4.
Oh yeah, the Honey Bunch. Yeah, but
So
are they
it still gets referenced. It still gets referenced. So Josh, Gino, Summer, Jacey-Lynne. Then you have the pairs, which is Jay and Josh. Summer and Marty are well connected in terms of the conversation. Then you have like Helena and Jess talk very well together, and then Helena and Moose also talk well together.
This
So-
is kind of the story of our podcast tonight.
So
Sorry,
Like,
Director.
the people that are really like out on the island is Kevin, although he's making inroads with Jess,
Right.
right? Jess at least has Helena and somewhat Kevin, and Jay has Betty, Josh, really as his main 2.
Okay. So who have we left out? We haven't mentioned Betty because Kyle kind of said that tonight. Like Betty's a floater. Marty, you don't need to worry about.
Betty's in Man Down.
Wait, yeah. What's the Marty alliance?
Marty, Moose, Kyle, and Gino.
Kyle and Gino.
Marty's with the French, kind of, but he also has like Tanisha.
Oh, right. That's
Maybe
So
I'm
yes,
wrong.
they are talking about adding another person, and people have suggested Tanisha, but it from what I've heard, it hasn't been official yet.
Okay.
into the Bro alliance.
No, into the
Yes.
The French Connection.
the French Connection Alliance. Yeah. My question is: does Jess and Kevin have a chance to actually like form an alliance that could be, form a second side of the house? You know what I mean?
As of right now, there isn't really a second side of the house
That's the
because
problem.
these people
need that.
People are like they've done a good job of kind of cookouting the situation with covering their bases, because if you're looking at the Savage 7, you have Tanisha's in the Savage 7 and also in the All Girls Alliance.
Mhm.
You have Moose, Kyle, and Gino, who's with Marty, has Marty under control.
Gino's
Right?
in most of these alliances for the record.
Yeah, for the
How
most
many
part.
alliances are there? It's like sometimes
One,
One,
two,
two.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7
that's a
alliances.
lot. Like they've been in there for like 10 days, 13 days.
Because
Whatever it is.
it's because a lot of them aren't really, they're secondary, like they're just covering bases to make sure they have control of the votes. So you have people like Kyle, Tanisha, Gino, Herman, right? And in some respects, Moose, right? That have their bases covered with being connected to people who are outside of the Savage 7, right? So they can kind of track to see what people are thinking, and they can bring it back to the core group.
Okay.
Right. But who's the mastermind here this season? Is it Kyle?
Kyle and Gino are in a lot of what's happening. There's a lot of overlap.
And I have Gino in the draft, but like the way they portray him on the show does not make me think mastermind.
he doesn't like. But here's the thing, though: the worst kind of mastermind is one that everyone knows is a mastermind, right?
Mm-hmm.
With
Does
him
he know?
being, he doesn't have like. Look, you don't want to be too high in your supply, otherwise you're going to be like Kevin, right? You want to
Yeah.
be in a position where you have an understanding of where you fit in the house, right? Make sure that you're covered, right? Make sure that you're not on anyone's radar. People aren't necessarily going after Gino right now, right? People want to get with Gino. Kyle is already rubbing people the wrong way, right?
Yeah. I can see
Kyle is
that.
having trouble communicating with people when confronted, right?
Right.
So Kyle is in more danger than Gino, even though Kyle is considered, more of a mastermind than Gino. You're a mastermind if you're here, in the final five and Kyle's, sitting home pre-jury, right? Shoulda,
Right.
coulda, woulda.
What about tonight? There was like the affirmation club in like the Hall of Mirrors. Was that an alliance, or was that just a group of ladies getting together to?
So that's Summer's thing. So as mentioned before, Summer is with Honey Bunch. So that's
Honey
her
Bunch.
connection with Jacey-Lynne. What I believe Betty was there, and Betty's in Man Down. And I think Helena, was it Helena or was it Stephanie? That was
I think
also
Helena was there.
so Helena's also in Man Down. Right? So like you have
Interesting.
Summer being like I don't want to say puppeteer, but like the driving force of that kind of uh, motivational coven. Apologies to all Wiccans with saying coven and using it as like a term that doesn't necessarily apply, but the grouping, the coupling.
We apologize to all the covens. Jaemeel, the challenges tonight, the birthday cake challenge. Did you enjoy that from a production standpoint?
From a production standpoint, it looked like really beautiful, and it looked hard as hell. I would hate to have to like try to win that for my safety. That seemed like such a hard ass thing, and like Jay, who seems very mentally strong, like you could tell he was just completely frustrated at the end.
Yeah, it was not going so well. Jacey-Lynne ultimately wins it. I thought that they were fun, although sometimes I think these drag out a little bit long. But if you're going to build a big set, I get why you'd want to get some TV time out of it.
Jacey-Lynne, she's a comp beast. Watch out.
Your draft pick, Jeff. And she saved herself from the block.
Only reason I picked her was because I knew she was going to win competitions. I don't think she's necessarily going to be a great
She's here to win the heart of Gino.
Yeah, and you know what? Sometimes you get to the end that way,
Yeah. Sometimes, yeah.
Just imagine if Holly could take out Jackson, Holly would have won.
Or if Netta had taken out what's his name? The guy from Big Brother Canada 2 was John.
Yeah.
So it happens sometimes where it's like a budding couple, and then you just kind of ride that because the pretty person alliance almost always wins.
They always
inevitable
merge, right? And so this is what I kind of like about the Marty HOH is that he is not inclined to go along with those kinds of social pressures because. And and sometimes that person gets targeted early, not just because they're the oldest person, but because they don't care if they fit in with the pretty person alliance. But a lot of the other house guests do because they have self-esteem issues. They're younger, they don't know better, right? Yeah. And especially Marty,
you're reminded of high school, and that is how the structures of high school work. Right. And
Marty doesn't care about any of that, especially since he's English as a second language. I think it's even less relevant to him.
Yeah, and he's married, he has kids.
I like how some of the people were the pushback concerning Jay was, everyone was respecting the HOH's, position last week, and they voted, what's the name out, so we don't want to rock the boat. They're like, no, like the HOH only has power up to a certain point, and then it's in our control. Let's not just give in. You wouldn't give in if it was your position. And I'm glad that Jay, showed a little bit of fire.
Sure.
They didn't
Yeah.
show some of the conversations though, especially ones that made Kyle look dumb. But yeah, Jay has some fire. I'm sorry that the impression people have was just him crying at the end, but Jay's shown some fire too.
I think Jay's been fine. Like, I kind of feel like it is the fact that he's being targeted at this stage. I get it. I get why Marty's doing it. On the other hand, I would rather him go after somebody like Stephanie, yeah, who he's clearly not with, particularly but he
keeps telling everyone that if he didn't promise her safety, he would go after Stephanie, and everyone's like, just go after Stephanie.
If you're because if you're gonna go around saying I'm only giving you safety because I promised it, and you tell everybody that, and everybody tells Stephanie that, you haven't built no trust. And so at best,
practically told people Stephanie would be as targeted if he didn't already promise.
If he hadn't given his word.
Yeah.
And this whole thing where you have to make deals with people at the end of an HOH competition, which was kind of what was shown on the Monday episode. I don't get it. Like, if you're okay, Jeff, you're in the final two of an HOH competition, or final three, and the other two people who you don't know or maybe are not in your alliance, they say, can we just agree we're going to keep each other safe?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have to say yes, or do you try to, or do you say, I don't know yet, or what do you do?
Depends. Like, you only know how much you have left in you. If it's like an endurance challenge, especially you know if you realistically have a chance to beat these people. And so you make them publicly do it. You try to not make it like a quiet thing. You try to make it more as public as possible if they are going to guarantee that. And then if they ever, try to go back on their word, then you can do what we saw tonight in Survivor, which is, if you don't, keep your mouth shut, or, you don't stay loyal to your word, then, why should anyone else trust you? And that's a powerful thing in these type of games.
Right. Keep your nose clean.
Look, the only people you have to be loyal to is the people who you're in alliance with. And if they understand that, hey, it's in our best interest if you break your word to Stephanie and vote her out, if Stephanie gets voted out, Stephanie can't do anything to you. Stephanie's gone, right? And if the entire house is or a good portion of the house is just put up Stephanie, why not put up Stephanie?
I don't know. It seems like that would be the best thing for his game.
Additionally, Stephanie didn't agree to the deal during the challenge. She never agreed, but Marty just keeps on insisting, don't worry, you're safe. I'm like, Marty, shut up. Don't. He even says it. He said it. He's like, she didn't even take the deal. You see, she didn't even want to take the deal because she knew if she won, she would send me home. I'm like, you have your justification. What are you doing? I did not understand this holy, this martyrdom that Marty was doing. It didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, his strength is that he's kind of this wild card who's not playing like a traditional game, but on the other hand, he's kind of that's kind of the weakness here, is that he's this wild card, and his logic doesn't quite add up. When you really think about it, it kind of does, but it kind of doesn't. It doesn't seem like, especially when it relates to the Stephanie issue, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. Why? We've seen plenty. We saw Spicy V do it last year. If you want to be a legend like Spicy V, Marty, you put her up. Come on, you backdoor, if anything.
Yeah, and say, hey, I kept you safe. Jacey-Lynne took herself off. I was left into a position where I didn't want to nominate half the house and nominate another person. You obviously were my secondary target. I gave you safety the first time. Sorry, things just turned out. I did what I could.
Do you think that Marty's in trouble next week?
No.
Depending on who's HOH.
No.
Well, then he's going to come out of this looking pretty good.
Betty's not going to be coming after. If Betty survives, Betty's not going after Marty. Betty's not going to win. HOH.
Betty's not going to win, and that's why Kyle. I think when Kyle's like, just put up Betty, and it was like, yeah, that makes complete sense, Kyle. Like for a whole bunch of reasons.
That's who you should have put up first. You know, he kind of pissed Gino off. He kind of pissed Jacey-Lynne off. Yeah, that was
Josh.
That was the miscalculation of putting up Jacey-Lynne.
Well, yeah, especially since she pulled herself down, right? So it was if she
Yeah,
hadn't, even if she hadn't pulled herself down.
Yeah,
but-
she wasn't going home. Like she wasn't. That was stupid. Like, you know, like unless you want her to go home, then put her and Gino up. You know, like the thing is like that. She was a bad pawn.
If she wanted Jay gone, she should have put like. Why didn't she just put up Kevin? If you're just looking for a pawn, why didn't you just put up Kevin?
I wouldn't have trusted that because I think Jay would have. If you really wanted Jay out, I don't think they would have.
People like Jay way more than Kevin.
Well, that's it. Like, I don't think Jay would have went home.
Right.
I think they would have stayed. You know, so like with I think you should have just put her up right with the new girl. B Money should have been on the block right from the beginning.
I think the whole putting Betty up is just a little recency bias because there's a reason why she wasn't put up initially. It's because she is still technically considered connected enough, a lot more so than, let's say, Jessica, who isn't put up because Marty doesn't want to put up Jessica. And Marty's
like Betty seemed to have some kind of connection with Josh.
That's the reason why she was put up. No, she's connected to Josh and Jay.
And Jay, right? So they're like, take that vote out of the picture, which kind of makes sense.
Yep.
You know, and she's not someone who's gonna like retaliate because she probably won't win. To your point, Jeff, what did you think of the selection of the veto players, and the fact that they have this massive wheel, like sort of how would you characterize it?
Wheel of
Fortune. No, I'm thinking of it's kind of like Wheel of Fortune. The Price is Right is the show I'm looking for.
Right.
The Price is Right, like kind of like that massive wheel instead of just picking up veto players out of a bag of chips.
You know what? I commend Big Brother Canada for doing something different. You know, the American shows a lot of times stays too much toward tradition, and I like the Canadian show likes to switch things up and kind of do something different, and then so then we get a little bit of a different feel and a little bit different result, and that's always good.
So people who used to complain about, I think they fixed the house guest selection with the bags. Well, it's the exact same thing with this, right? They can easily fix it just as they did with the bag. So don't worry about it. You know, it is what it is.
It was kind of exciting to watch them do the spin, and when it landed on, I think it was Josh's for one of them, they all cheered, right? And I was like, yeah, kind of like it seemed like that was a little bit more of a fun activity for the house than sort of the traditional ceremony that we kind of know, which is just pulling
Come
out
on,
a hat.
You know they're going to be playing spin the bottle with that.
I'm sure they will be. Yeah. I also wondered about how the fact that they had this divided up by 16, and I guess Melina not being there now, they just left hers blank. They just pulled up her tile. If it had landed on Melina's, is it just a redo?
They had 2 spots for house guest choice, so maybe as it increases, they might put more house guest choice. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. Like there was definitely one that was just an empty piece of the pie.
Sure, they could just respin.
Okay. Oh, we're now midnight, and it is now Thursday, March 10th. So I think we can probably wrap it up for tonight, guys. And
so, who do you think is going home?
I think it's Jay. It's got to be. Why
Jay.
would you vote up Betty over Jay?
Jay.
Yeah, you were going to put Jay out for sure.
Yeah. Are you sad to lose Jay? Either of you?
I would rather a pretty person go. So yeah.
You have it in your head who's like pretty and who isn't.
Is Jay in the pretty group?
Like Jay
No.
wasn't.
No, I don't think so. I think like the Jacey-Lynne, I picked one. Look, I understand how this game works. It's high school on steroids. That's what Big Brother is, unfortunately. And it's probably I kind of think Jay was going to bring something to the show, and I think I think we're not going to get that.
I hope we see the Kyle conversation though. It was so good.
The one where you look dumb.
He made Kyle look dumb.
Okay.
He made him look dumb. Right?
Will this be a unanimous vote tomorrow?
No.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be unanimous.
I think it will be.
Really? Well,
I think Josh is gonna say like he's gonna see the writing on the wall. It's like I don't want to ruin my spot. I'm gonna vote for Betty. Jess might vote for Jay because she don't give a fuck at all.
Yeah, Jess, I'll vote just to make them think I'm working against you when I'm really working with you. That's her move.
I think Jess is gonna do whatever she wants to, and I think people are gonna respect her, but not necessarily want to work with her.
Yeah, that's probably fair. Okay, well, I think it will probably be Jay tomorrow. I don't think we have anything else to say. Jeff, are you working tomorrow or curling tomorrow?
curling, yes, at 9.
At 9. Jaemeel, I don't know if we're able to connect tomorrow because I will be doing the Discovery podcast unless we go on late like we did last week. And
We could just forget about Discovery.
I'm
joking. I'm joking.
Yeah, but
I watch Michael Chan. He might make another appearance.
He might. I never know when he's going to show up. He doesn't tell me. He's contractually obligated. But on that segue, here on Super Mader Brothers podcast, we talk about all kinds of different shows, reality and scripted TV and movies. Just earlier tonight, we were talking about Survivor 42's premiere, just breaking that all down, and we'll be covering that season this year as we did season 41 and season 40 before that. Also, check out our coverage of Celebrity Big Brother 3, which just wrapped up in the month of February. We also had, what else we got coming up, guys? Help me out here.
Not the Serpent?
Well, we've done the Serpent. That was like a long time ago. We covered the Serpent.
I keep referencing the Serpent.
Remember when we did the Serpent with Mott? When we talked about it?
Mott, he brought the fire that night.
We did. We talked about Marvel here on Super Mader Brothers podcasting. Most recently, Hawkeye, but all the new MCU content, starting with WandaVision. That was kind of when we started doing the podcast about it. The next one expected is Moon Knight, which is a new show coming out in, I guess, March or April. And then Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness coming after that. And I think that's everything that I can remember. Ozark is also coming up in the near future here on Super Mario Brothers podcasting. As well, we have 2 other channels. One's called Trivial Debates, a monthly show. We argue about movies, TV, sports, and more in a game show format. We had Jeff Mader hosting the most recent version with Jody Simpson, Jaemeel Robinson, and Max Duda competing. It was from February 27th. You should check that out. They had some great debates, including what's the most pathetic sports franchise. Additionally, we have a Live Long and Podcast channel, which is dedicated to Star Trek. On Monday nights, we talk about Star Trek Enterprise. On Tuesday nights, Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Both are rewatch series, and we've been going through all the episodes. Check those out. And tomorrow night, Thursday, we are going to be talking about the newest episode of Star Trek Picard, Season 2, Episode 2. Jody Simpson, Davin Skellhorn, and Adam Woodward talking about that show. Then Star Trek Discovery, Season 4, Episode 10. If I remember my numbers right, that will be me, Ashley Millard, and Discovery's own Michael Chan breaking that all down. And then perhaps even later that night, Jaemeel and I talking about the eviction. We'll see. And then check out our friends podcast. Michael Chan, Alex Blackburn got the Hellbound podcast, a Star Trek or like a horror themed podcast. My mouth stops working at midnight, guys. What else? Eamon Mader's got his podcast. Let's talk about fighting games. Sam Jerka. They talk about Street Fighter and video games with fighting. Check it out.
Paranoia.
That's
some other guy.
Sonic Smash Bros. Seth. They're there. And so they're breaking them down. And Davin Skellhorn's got Locutors of Trek, his Star Trek theme channel.
Dave, did you see Worf showed up on Tuesdays Night at 9ish last night?
I watched the whole thing, yes. I was quite amused with the whole sequence.
Worf had quite the comments on things past.
Davin likes to commit to a character. If he's going to play a character on a podcast, he doesn't break.
It's great.
He'll be committed to it to the end. He won't.
It was great.
Yes. So
and X-rated.
X-rated, his X-Men the animated series. Jaemeel was on that last night talking about Till Death Do Us Part 2. I was on Till Death Do Us Part 1. How'd you enjoy that, Jaemeel?
I did. I liked it a lot. I like Andre too.
Yeah,
a lot
Andre's
of
a good guy.
a lot of things I didn't know about Andre. Used to be a professional wrestler. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I didn't know that about him.
It's a professional wrestler, I should say.
He's a professional wrestler. That makes sense. Davin's been a huge wrestling fan. Because like when I had to refresh Jeff about who Davin was, because we hadn't talked in many years, I was like, remember when we went to that wrestling event in Nova Scotia? It was like what Edge and Christian did before they made it big. They used to wrestle in that same circuit, and we went to that show. Yeah, so a lot of the indie wrestling, I would imagine Davin and Andre would be connected to that stuff for sure.
Yep.
Okay. Well, thanks for being with us on this week 2 check-in here on Big Brother Canada 10. We'll see you on the next one. And until then, you know that somebody is always watching.
And remember, someone is always watching.
Come on, Jeff.
Gotta go like this.
I know you want to.